All right, Alexander, let's talk about the passing away of Queen Elizabeth II. What are your thoughts?
Well, I'm going to say this. Sorrow. I mean, she's been queen for 70 years. She was a person I greatly respected and liked. I've never met her, though I have been very close to her, physically very close to her, when she attended a reception that I attended. I was impressed by her at that reception. I feel that she's handled this very complicated job of being queen excellently. And I have to say, I don't think there's anyone else remotely who's going to be able to take her place, um, even though I have a lot of sympathy for Charles, who's now the king. So I think that this is going to leave a massive gap in Britain. And I think that there's a point I want to explain about Elizabeth II, which I think a lot of people, perhaps outside Britain, don't fully understand. Perhaps even many people in Britain don't understand, which is that she became queen in 1952. And this is a time when Britain was still an empire. Britain still had huge numbers of imperial possessions. It was a very homogeneous society. It was very socially disciplined. It was very Christian. It was extremely honest. I mean, corruption was almost unheard of in British public life at that time. And where the leadership, people who occupied positions of authority, did so with a very strong sense of responsibility. I mean, this is something that had developed over a long time. It hadn't always existed, but in 1952, people in positions of authority did feel responsible for what happened and what they did. There was a very famous case around the time when the Queen became Queen in 1952, when a British minister went to the House of Commons, said something in complete good faith. He gave a report to the House of Commons about something that his ministry had done, which was in complete good faith. It then turned out that it was wrong, and that the House of Commons had been misled, and that minister felt obliged to resign. He decided that because he'd said something to the House of Commons which wasn't true, he felt that he had to resign. Well, that is inconceivable today. Well, the Queen, in a kind of a way, she remained that. She continued to follow the ethos of the world, that Britain, of the kind of Britain that she became queen of in 1952. She never evolved, if you like, out of it. And British people looked at that. They looked at the stability that she represented and the continuity with that British past. And I think they greatly respected the fact that she retained those values, which to a very great extent British society since then has lost. So quite apart from anything else, quite apart from the fact that they liked her, that they admired her, that she came across as a person of great dignity, there is that sense today in Britain of a loss of connection with that Britain that had existed before and which is now completely gone.
What kind of king will Charles be, do you think? Honestly.
Nobody knows, but my impression of Charles is that he's a well-meaning person. I think he does still have something of the Queen's sense of obligation, but I think that he lacks her extraordinary dignity and her tact and her knowledge that sometimes saying very little or even nothing is the most effective thing that a queen, that a head of state can do. So I'm afraid, I think that he will be, he will get along, he'll manage to be king, but he will never have the degree of support, the degree of respect that his mother had. And I also have to say this. I'm afraid that after Charles is gone, and remember, he's now an elderly man, so he won't be king for anything like as long as she was. After he is gone, I have to say I am very sceptical that this institution will be able to continue, because the royals that follow Charles don't seem to me to have anything left of those qualities that are needed to make a monarchy succeed, a constitutional monarchy of the sort that Britain has. And I will regret that. I will regret its passing, but I think that's most likely what we're going to see happen.
I mean, you mean William?
Well, I mean William, absolutely. I mean William and
yeah.
whoever succeeds William. I mean, I think that the Queen, I'm going to say straightforwardly, the Queen was the glue that held the monarchy together and held the United Kingdom together increasingly. I mean, there's huge respect for her in Scotland, in Wales, in Northern Ireland. She is gone. None of her successors look remotely convincing by comparison with the Queen herself. I think with that glue gone, you're going to start to see both the monarchy itself and ultimately the United Kingdom. I'm sorry to say this, I think you're going to see them unravel.
This complicates things for a new Prime Minister, Liz Truss.
Oh, yeah.
True?
Absolutely, of course
I
it
mean,
does.
the timing of this is pretty astonishing.
Yes, it is. And it's happened, of course, at a time when the mood in the country is already very bad, as we've discussed in many programmes. And this is going to make it worse, because Liz Truss, the one thing she did say, which is right, is that, you know, the Queen was the rock of stability. And now that rock has gone. And I mean, I can remember, for example, during the lockdown, when all the politicians were just all over the place, and the Queen came out and gave a very short broadcast, and you know that calmed the situation. She is gone, and I think that will make people feel a lot more nervous about the future.
Yeah, I mean, it's something is over and something new is beginning. And I don't know if that new is going to be good or not, or what we have in store, but definitely a major chapter in our civilization, in our Western civilization at least, feels like it's closed.
I completely agree. I mean, she embodied the West that we used to know. Now, I mean, your comment, very close to a quote, a very famous quote by Gramsci, a Marxist philosopher, by the way, whom I generally dislike. But this quote that he made is a very powerful one and a very good one. He said that the nature of the crisis is that the old is dying, but the new cannot be born. And in that interval, a lot of morbid and ugly symptoms will appear. And I think that is exactly the situation that we are in. With the Queen's passing, I'm afraid we have even more sense now that the old is passing. But the new that is coming, we can't yet see it. It doesn't look very comforting. And in the meantime, lots of morbid symptoms are going to go on appearing.
Yeah. All right. Any other thoughts that you have before we...
I know. I mean, I was just going to say this. I mean, she fulfilled an incredibly difficult role. She never said a thing wrong. She never put a foot wrong as Queen. She understood very well her constitutional limits. She got on with most of her prime ministers. She won the support of the Labour Party. And I'm not talking about today's Labour Party, which the Blairites actually had lots of issues with the Queen. But the old guard, social democrat, working class Labour Party got on very well with the Queen. It's often said that her favourite Prime Minister, the one that she got on with best, was Harold Wilson, who was the Labour Prime Minister in the 60s. So she had that skill of putting everything, bringing people together, and at the same time never stepping beyond her bounds. I doubt that anybody else can, and I doubt that anybody else that Britain throws up will have the kind of international respect that she had. So we're diminished as a country. Our international profile is now diminished as well.
Okay, we will leave it there, theduran.locals.com. Take care.